Losing 40 pounds actually made me a better Muslim, and in this video, I want to describe the exact journey that I undertook once I decided that I wanted to lose all the weight holding me back, and why it wasn't just a purely physical journey. There was like so much more involved in terms of like who I was becoming, what my relationship with Allah was going to become out at that, at the end of this, and why I'm on even on YouTube, and why I'm even helping other guys fix their relationship with Allah and get in shape at the same time. So I'm gonna make this super. I'm not gonna go into super. I'm not gonna make this super long or anything like that. What I'm gonna do is give you an overview of like where I was, and how many I'm even at this point now. So in 2022, it had been about a year and a half since COVID started, and I had gotten in shape, like, I'd gotten stronger, like when I first started lifting in 2019, like I was going like 3 times per week, putting weight on the bar every single time. Like I was doing the strongest 5x5 program. I was like, getting super strong. And then, 4 or 5 months later, the gym's closed. Nothing was open. So I had some gym equipment. I got like a barbell, and I was doing bench press on like a ottoman thingy, and it was like the most like you know weird, like the weirdest kind of like gym setup I had at home, but I made it work. And at a certain point I got like a squat rack, and it just I was able to do more movements. But during that time, like, I had no awareness on like nutrition whatsoever. Like I was just like more protein and more calories. Like that's the only thing I taught. I knew that would work. So I was just eating just purely just based on like, oh, does it have protein? And do I feel full, and do I feel strong, and do I feel like, I have more energy for the workouts I was doing? So it was just like this. It was a good time in the sense that I was in this blissful environment of like, oh, let me just put on weight, let me just like get stronger. But it got to a point where, you know, 2022, in March of 2022, I went to Umrah with my family, and it was a beautiful time. Like I had, it was such an amazing experience. But when I look back at pictures that I took at Umrah, like you can see my belly. It's just there. Like I might even put up a picture, like if I decide to edit this video, but I had a belly, and it was just like, what the heck? Like this is not what I expected. So when I got back, like it was just like, okay, like I need to do something about this. Like this is not okay. Like being this overweight, at that time I was like, the heaviest I weighed myself was like 212, and it wasn't pure muscle. It was like, I did like the in-body scan at my gym. Like it was like 30%, 32% body fat. I was like, this is absolutely not okay. But I refused to change because I was like, I'm getting stronger. Like I'm getting, I'm putting up big numbers, even though they were like not even that impressive. Like it was just like, okay, I'm getting stronger every single week. So I don't see any real need to like change any of this. But there was this part of me that was like, okay, I need to find a way to do this. So what I did at that time was I hired a coach. I hired someone who would show me the ropes, and I worked with him for a couple of months, and he, gave me the blueprint in terms of like how to lose weight. And I lost my first 10, 15 pounds using that. But the real transformation wasn't, it didn't start when, you know, I decided I need to do this, or like it was just like, oh, like someone was telling me. Like it was all of that. It was all of the different things that were coming at me, like how I looked bloated in the mirror, like how I didn't look good. Nothing was looking the way I wanted to, and it was misaligned with why I even got in shape, and like why I decided getting fitness in the first place, because I wanted to look good. I wanted to feel better about myself. So all of that came together, and I was just like, okay, something definitely needs to change. So I decided to like, okay, like I'm just gonna take this seriously. I'm gonna do what I need to do. And I was running 75 hard at the end of 2022, going into 2023. So that was a transformational period in and of itself. And during that time, like until, March or April of 2023, I lost a good 25 pounds. And it wasn't even like I was aiming to lose any of that weight. I was just like, I'm so sick and tired of being bloated, of looking, having a fat face, of not being able to like walk, or like not being able to do all the things that I could have done had COVID not happened. And, like all these different things, all of this was like coming at me. So, during that period of 75 hard, one of the, yeah, I would highly encourage everyone to do it. But the main takeaway in terms of like what actually helped me lose a lot of that weight was walking. I was, part of what that program requires is doing a 45-minute workout outdoors. And, some people decide to do jogging or biking or whatever it is. Like, I decided to just walk because I couldn't do more than that. Like, I still remember this, the first couple of days when I decided to do this. My ankles were hurting so badly because I had just not been walking. I was stuck indoors, like I was just working a remote job, so like I had no reason to go outside and walk. So like first days, like it was just hurting so badly. Like it got to a point on like day 5 or so where I had to pray sitting. I only do that when if I'm like super sick or something, like, and it got so bad I couldn't even stand and pray. Like it was so bad. But I pushed through it because, part of 75 hard is like you just keep going, and if you skip a day, if you miss a day, you have to start back from zero. And it was like, I can't do this. I had public accountability. I was posting on my Instagram story every single day. So I was like, I cannot, this is like minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of things. So I kept pushing forward. It got better because, my tendons or whatever, they got stronger. Obviously the weight coming off was a huge part of that. And I just like, it just kept going on, on and on and on. I was like losing weight every single day. It was like just so much coming off. And it was like, this is great. Paired that with, reducing, having no snacks. I mean, I wouldn't extreme in that sense that I was really pushing it. Eating very clean, no snacking, no sugary stuff, no fries, anything like that. So it was just like, okay, I was in this like, chamber where I was like, okay, I just need to transform. And I was doing everything I needed to do for that. And 25 pounds down, I was like, okay, this is great. I'm finally at 190 or whatever. Like this is amazing. And what I did from that point onwards was like, okay, when I came off 75 hard, I was like, okay, I know the principles now. Now I just need to keep integrating this into my life. So steps became a huge part of it. Like it's just a staple for me now. Like walking 10,000 plus steps every single day is like a non-negotiable at this point. Like I do it because it helps my creativity, helps with brain fog, helps me lose weight, obviously, because it's such a fat burning exercise, if you want to even call it that, because it increases your non-exercise, activity thermogenesis, whatever it's called, NEAT. So that was a huge part of it. But when I was doing those walks, when I was, sometimes it would get to a point where I was like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I just had not done it because either had been really busy the whole day, but if I'm being honest, like it was just because I was lazy. And I knew that if I didn't do this, I would have to start back at day 0. So I was like, okay, let me just get this in. I don't care how cold it is. I don't care when my family's like, oh, it's really dark outside, don't go outside. I was like, let me just do it. 45 minutes on the dot. I had mapped the route I was gonna walk to the second. So 45 minutes exactly. I was like, okay, put a timer on. 45 minutes, I'll be back. Like I will not go for that long. You can watch a show, you can watch whatever you want to do. I'll be back before you know it. And all those walks, I was listening to podcasts, I was listening to Islamic lectures, I was listening to all these different things. And, there were moments where I was just like almost breaking down because I was like, what have I done to myself? Like, this is not who I'm supposed to be. Yes, I'm on the path now, both literally and figuratively, to lose this weight and become a better person, but there were so many moments of like just walking in the dark, looking at the full moon, going through empty streets. It's just all kind of coming back to me now. Like, I was like, this is crazy. No one else is outside. It's brick cold right now. I was living in Boston at the time. Brick cold. Had like layers and layers on. Listening to, sometimes I wouldn't even be listening to anything in particular. It was just like some music or like, some Quran or whatever. Like, it was just like kind of whatever I was feeling at that point. I was just like, this is insane. I'm actually putting in the work and no one's here to witness it. There's no crowd. There's no one pushing me on. There's no supporters. In fact, there were detractors. There were people like, oh, why are you even doing this? Like, live a little, all these different things. I don't hold it against people. I mean, I did at a certain point, but I don't hold it against them. It's just like, I'm just doing this for myself, man. Like, you don't have to support me, but don't get in my way. That's literally where I was. where I'm now at least. And what I understood in those moments is that the way Allah guides you is not through some grand kind of like opening or like clouds in the sky parting and you see this amazing sign or something like that. That's never how it is. Allah, one of his names, one of his divine names is Al-Latif. And what that means is the most subtle, or the subtle one. The way he was guiding me on those dark, lonely, cold nights was he was showing me my true self. This is who I was becoming. I was becoming someone who could do the work even when there was no one watching. When there was every excuse in the book was there. It was cold, it was dark, it was late, I was tired, I was hungry, like all these different things. Like, but I still did it. And Allah was showing me in those moments, on those cold and dark nights, that this is who you're capable of. You're capable of doing the things you need to do, even though everything around you is less than ideal, less than optimal, but you can still do it. And that created this sense of reliance on Allah, where I was like, okay, like nothing has to be perfect, nothing has to be going the way I want to, but if I still want something, I can do the steps I need to do, pun not intended, and Allah will take me to my destination, because I'm not in charge of this. I'm not in charge of transforming myself. It's only by Allah's permission. So he was guiding me on this journey of transformation, of self-discovery. And I almost missed those days. It's kind of crazy. Like, I missed those days of like walking in the dark, like just, getting those steps. And it wasn't about the steps. It was just like the duration of like 45 minutes. I just need to get this done and I could go back home and like, take a shower and just curl up in bed. So Allah he was teaching me all these different things in very, very subtle ways. And it's only when I reflect on it, I'm like, okay, this is what all of that was. It wasn't a journey of losing any amount of weight or like looking bad or anything like that. It was just like Allah showing me my true potential. And once I learned the lesson of like, okay, I can actually do stuff, I can actually get in shape, like then it just took on, like, me putting on muscle, me, transforming my face as an example. I mean, all these things, they became easy. It was just like, well, why wouldn't I do this? Because this is what I'm meant to be. So yeah, I mean, that was the biggest lesson for me in those moments. And every point from there on has just been kind of building on the foundation I created, or Allah created for me. And I'm at a point now where I know exactly how to get in shape. I help other guys get in shape because they see in me and I see in them the same person that I was before I started. Like, I was doing all the right things. Like, I was in the gym, I was eating protein, I was doing all this, but my kind of relationship with myself was not complete. Like, I had not taken the time to just reflect on who I was and what I was actually doing, because when you're stripped to your basic, your essential raw self, you know that any excuse you make is just that, an excuse. It's a story you tell yourself because you don't want to do the hard work. It's literally as simple as that. Any excuse you make, provided you can actually do the thing that you say you can do, is just a story that you tell yourself. And it's an identity that if you tell yourself that story over and over, if you repeat that lie, it becomes something that you identify with and becomes your identity, and you hold on to that. And it's only when you beat down that identity and you do the things you don't want to do day in, day out, and you say over and over and over and over, and it gets to a point where your old identity cracks. Because you get to a point, like I got to a point, at a certain point in 75 Hard, was like, I'm not the guy who doesn't know how to lose weight. I don't even know when that happened, but I was like, okay, like if I want to lose weight, I go outside, I go get my walks in, or hit my 10,000 steps, whatever it is. I don't eat junk. I train hard. I go to sleep. I sleep well. That's who I am. That's just who I am. That was not the case at a certain point before I started that program. So it's really just like you cracking your identity open and Allah showing you, like, this is not who you're supposed to be. You being a lesser version of yourself is a disservice to who Allah created you to be. We as men, like, we have the gift. We have the gift of being able to transform ourselves. I mean, women too, but I'm speaking to men because it's built within us to want to progress, to want to get to a point where we're at a better level. I mean, that's why video games, like, they have such a hold on men, because it plays on this innate kind of drive to want to progress to another level, like beat the boss and get to another level, get the weapons, all that kind of stuff. And when we translate that back into real life, there's always a new stage that we can work up to. Not just in the material ways. I'm not talking about the material ways specific. I'm talking about, like, your identity, who you are as a Muslim. There's always new levels of appreciation of Allah's gifts, for you, or of He is giving you the ability to do certain things. I mean, these are all gifts. Like, these are all still things that we are blessed with. So when you're able to do more, when you're able to take on more, when you're able to transform yourself, and then through that you become a beacon who's able to transform others, that's a gift. That's a gift that we do not realize, that we do not appreciate enough, because we're stuck in this low frequency, this low identity, where it's just like, oh, my problems, I'm overweight, I'm not making the money I need to, like, I'm not married yet. I mean, all these different things, and it just keeps us in this, like, this low bubble that we're stuck in forever, and we never truly get to a point where we become of service to others, where it's not just about yourself anymore. Like, yes, your progression, your personal goals, I mean, they still matter, but your life takes on a new meaning, and you get to a point where, like, this is not about me anymore. This is not about what I can do for myself. It's about what I can do for others, and that's that's the point where I'm at right now, where I'm coaching guys, where I'm teaching others, giving them the gift that I received on those lonely, cold, dark nights. And I'm kind of bypassing the process for them, telling them, hey, what I learned from that is that you need to be walking a certain amount, you need to be cutting out certain foods, and, like, you can still eat your cultural foods, but you just need to do it in a Spartan way, because I had to do that. I couldn't just, like, stop eating my family's foods. Like, I was doing some modifications, I was doing some kind of meal prep, but most of the time it was just like, whatever my family was cooking, I kind of had to eat that. So it was just like, okay, how do you manage that? How do you still eat that, keep the family, keep yourself normal and, like, sane in this environment? Because we don't live in a bubble, we don't live in this, like, chamber where we can just, like, everything is, like, mapped out to exactly how you need it to be, and your meals are to the gram, and you have every equipment at your disposal, and you have all the free time in the world. That's not how it is for anyone. So you're always working in a less than ideal environment. And what I had to do, and why I was so successful with my weight loss journey, getting to a point where I am now, is because I learned to navigate all that. I learned to get results, get good results, great results in an imperfect environment, imperfect scenario. And that's something I thank Allah for, because a lot of guys, like, they use this excuse, they use this crutch of, like, oh, my family cooks these foods, so I can't lose weight. I have to, comply with what they're doing, or I'm going to be seen as the weird one. Was I seen as the weird one for a long time? Of course I was. I would go out to meals with my friends, and they'd be like, why are you getting the dried chicken breast and, like, Diet Coke? Like, what's wrong with you? Part of that is, it's like, people not understanding what you're doing, but it's just like, you have to make certain choices, and there's a way to do it where you can still work towards your goals. Like, you can still work towards what's important to you, but it's not about becoming a weirdo, or, like, someone who's a social outcast. That's not the point of it, because if you do that, if you just, like, get to a point where you're just, like, so removed from normal society, like, you won't be able to relate to other people who may need your help. Because if you distance yourself, and you solely focus on your goals, and you do not interact with others, and you do not try to understand where they're coming from, you may get the result you want, but you will not be able to help someone who is in your circle, who wants to get the results that you got, because you don't understand the challenges that they're facing, because you cut yourself off and you were just like, okay, my meals, my exercise, my this, like this, that's the only thing that's important to me. I cannot help you because you are not willing to make the sacrifice I made. So while it's impressive that you made the sacrifice that you did, you can't help another person now. So you've kind of like shot yourself in the foot. Like, yes, you got the results you wanted. You're probably happy with that. But you'll realize that I want to help others because I see what losing weight, what getting in shape is done for me, my self-confidence, my just general energy, like all this kind of stuff. So I want to help others, but I don't understand the situation. I mean, you have to work towards that now. So that's my journey in an essence. I mean, there's so many more tactical things I could talk about. There's like, you know, mindset shifts and like all the different things I did with my workouts and all these different things. But I wanted to make this journey, like this video raw and just kind of talk to you guys, because my story is really the only thing that I can kind of convey to you guys. Like, and I can be confident and like okay with just like kind of talking about my journey because that's who I am. And I know that others, if you're watching this right now, if you're still 21 minutes in, like you do relate to this to some extent. You do see yourself in me. You do relate to the struggles that I talked about because they're very real struggles. Like no one teaches us this stuff. No one teaches us, you know, how to lose weight, how to do this in a way that would actually make sense to us. And especially as Muslims, like there's so many Muslims who are just overweight and just like they have fallen into this trap of like, well, as long as I'm a good Muslim, like it doesn't matter, like all this bodybuilding, all this like weight loss, all this like stuff is like, it's not important. Like as long as you're praying and you're reading your Quran and you're not like abusing your family, you're a good Muslim. That's the standard. That's supposed to be, that's not the standard. That's the basic requirement. If you're doing that as a Muslim, you're Muslim. Congratulations. But that's not where we need to be. There's a higher standard, there's a higher place we need to be, and there's a level of excellence that we're just missing nowadays. So yeah, I mean, I'm on this journey more. Like I'm still on the path to like getting to where I need to be with my physique. So I'm gonna be sharing more of that as much as I can, inshallah. But this is my story. If you guys related to this, you can follow me on Instagram. That's where I post more of my daily kind of what I'm doing with my workouts, my steps, my Quran, my everything that I'm doing. So I'm showing you the day in the life on a more consistent basis there. So definitely follow me on Instagram. And if you do want to work with me and you've gotten to a point where, you know, you do not understand the process of like how to actually lose weight, and you're just like, I know how to put on weight, I know how to get stronger, I know how to get bigger in the gym, but I'm not getting closer to the image that I had when I started this whole fitness thing, then go to the link in the description, book a call. We can talk about what your exact situation is, what you're struggling with. And if it's anything that I've encountered, which I most likely have, then I can walk you through the system that I've used for myself and for my clients to help them lose 20 to 40 pounds in 6 months or less, inshallah. We definitely talk about that. But guys, I hope you took something from this video, because and I'll leave it on this note. Your transformation, your physical transformation to becoming a better Muslim, those two things are linked. Don't think those two things are not separate, because your journey to Allah is not just through prayer, just through Quran, or it's your entire life. And you getting in shape, you becoming closer to who you're supposed to be as an ideal Muslim, that's part of that. So guys, I'll talk more about this if you want me to. Let me know in the description if this is something you found useful. I can flesh out more aspects of my story. Definitely talk about that more. But inshallah, I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Assalamu alaikum.